Created by Jerry Conway, Trevor Eden, and Vince Coletta, Count Werner Vertigo was introduced as an enemy of Green Arrow and Black Canary back in World's Finest Comics number 251 in 1978. Vertigo suffers from a hereditary defect that impedes his balance. He would have a special device implanted into his right temple that fixed it, and after some tampering, Vertigo found that he could use the device to disrupt the balance in others as well. Count Vertigo's powers, which are referred to as the Vertigo effect, are extremely simple in concept, but that's what makes them so brilliant. I think his powers are some of the most damaging in all of comics, because they are based in reality, primarily. Vertigo is a real-life condition that can be debilitating to anyone suffering from it. Major episodes can make a person, for a lack of a better term, physically useless for a time. Vertigo is the sensation that you yourself or the space around you is moving, even spinning. It can lead to nausea, vomiting, the inability to walk due to the dizziness, and of course, anxiety. Count Vertigo uses this terrible sensation as a weapon, and I gotta say, what a savage way to attack someone, having them writhing in pain on the ground, unable to walk, throwing up all over the place. God almighty, it would make me rethink my career choice as a superhero. Something I've always enjoyed about this character in the comics is how the artists and even letterers bringing him and his powers to life on a page immerse the reader into them, flipping the drawings and lettering upside down or sideways within the panels, forcing you to turn the comic book to read it. You become just as disoriented as the hero inflicted by Vertigo's powers. It's been really creative at times throughout the years. Count Vertigo's Vertigo effect is strong enough to work on the likes of Superman. It can not only interfere with humans and humanoids, but some forms of technology as well, messing with their guidance systems and cameras, their forms of balance and sight. Wonder Woman's invisible jet was even made susceptible to it at one point. Not that his own powers affect him, but Count Vertigo wears magnetized boots so he can walk on walls and ceilings to further disorient his targets. He also has the ability to fly. Though Vertigo's powers are crippling, they can be easily hampered with weapons and other abilities. Black Canary's screech has been shown to disrupt Vertigo's device, and Green Arrow has damaged the device with his specialty arrows on multiple occasions, causing it to malfunction and affect Count Vertigo himself. The simplest things, such as earplugs, do wonders for the senses. Heroes would be smart to bring a pair if they ever find themselves up against Count Vertigo. With the title of Count in his name, that would imply that Vertigo ranks among nobility, and it's true. He's the last surviving descendant of the royal family of Vltava, a small fictional country in Eastern Europe. Vltava is at constant war with itself, though. It had been taken over by the Soviet Union, and for generations there had been a violent revolution going on between its people and its government. Vertigo had more or less led this charge against its rulers, and acted as a symbol for his people to rally behind, kind of like the relationship Magneto has with Genosha, or even more accurately, Doctor Doom and his home country of Latveria. Vltava would be decimated by the Spectre, however, a ghostly, badass-as-fuck spirit of vengeance, one of the coolest and most powerful entities in the DC universe. Due to the endless conflict in the country, resulting in so much anger, hatred, and innocent bloodshed, the Spectre would judge all of its citizens as guilty and full of sin, irredeemable in his eyes, and chose to kill every single one of them, especially after he had tried to lift the memories of Vltava out of the earth, and was overwhelmed by all of the pain and evil that had stained it. The only two Spectre kept alive were Count Vertigo and Vltava's then-president, General Hafsa, the leaders of both sides of the conflict. They had wanted Vltava so badly that they could now fight over its burning husk, That was their punishment. To quote one of my favorite YouTubers, Dr. Wolfula, savage as fuck. Count Vertigo's personality would slowly become an extension of his powers, just as dizzying, unstable, and frantic. Before Vlatava's destruction, and while he had been a member of the Suicide Squad, Vertigo had become delusional after being pumped full of chemicals by a group of Latavan rebels, believing himself to be an avenging spirit that needed to fill the gutters of his country with the blood of its rulers, for his ancestors' sake. The rebels that had captured Vertigo said that his divine mania was a side effect of the drugs they pumped into his system, that the chemicals were playing Russian roulette with his brain. Vertigo had become pretty messed up. Count Vertigo would be rescued by Poison Ivy, though I use the word rescue lightly, because following a kiss, she would turn Vertigo into her slave, pumping his body full of even more chemicals and toxins. Damn, he would start carrying her drinks for her by the pool. It was degrading. The worst part of it all was the fact that Vertigo was in control of his thoughts, but not his physical actions. He swore to himself that whenever he was finally released of her influence, he would make it his mission to kill Poison Ivy. Count Vertigo would eventually be found and placed in an institute that studied metahumans, and Amanda Waller would have Task Force X's psychologist, Dr. Simon Legrive, try to detoxify Vertigo's body and rebuild his sanity. Poison Ivy would be later injured and brought to that same institute, and Vertigo contemplated killing her while she was recuperating. However, Dr. Legrive made Vertigo aware of the fact that his metahuman metabolism had already balanced out the chemical imbalance in his bloodstream. His unstable mental state was his own doing at that point. He had formed a pattern of manic behavior and stuck with it. He had become naturally crazy. No chemicals needed. Things got so bad for Vertigo psychologically that he would ask his Suicide Squad teammate Deadshot to kill him, something Floyd Lawton was willing to do, but asked Vertigo to make sure it was what he wanted, because when it comes to killing, Deadshot does not fail, or hesitate for that matter. Vertigo would decide against it. He was a religious man, and felt that by having Deadshot kill him, he would essentially be committing assisted suicide, a great sin, and would not reach heaven. My favorite version of Count Vertigo is the original, Werner Vertigo, but there is another within newer continuities named Werner Zeidel. He was introduced in the New 52 and carries over a few of the ideas from the classic one, mainly being the ruler of Latava, but this one had a pretty radical redesign, shirtless, tattooed with a swirly, and was heavily involved in organized crime. His Vertigo effect device was implanted in his forehead. Whenever it was being repaired, you could see parts of his brain. Gross. But the device was also attached to the back of his head and spine, almost like the arms of Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2. There was a story that had him expand the reach of his device's signal so that it would come out of all forms of wireless technology, which I thought was pretty cool. In today's day and age, everyone relies on these kinds of devices, meaning everyone would become susceptible to his power. His Vertigo effect became a brainwashing virus, a mind-melting drug as a result. Count Vertigo isn't in the upper echelon of comic book supervillains in my opinion, but I have always enjoyed him and his powers. I think they're pretty brutal. The psychological issues he has dealt with have been fairly interesting as well, especially the stuff with Poison Ivy, and dealing with the loss of his country at the hands of the Spectre. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the character down in the comments section below though. If you enjoyed the video, would like to see more like it, and ensure the future of this channel and its content, you can help out by becoming a subscriber. Hit that bell icon for notifications whenever I release a new video, and join my Patreon for as little as $1 per month. It would be much appreciated. I will see you all in the next one. Take care, stay safe, and always stay nerdy.